She's a calico. She's such a sweetheart. Yeah, so let me spill the tea in this chat room, okay? Okay, so we're going to rewind to 20-year-old Amanda, right? So I was best friends. Oh, actually, no, we're going to rewind further than that. So I was best friends with this girl, literally. We're going to call her Priscilla, just say. I'm not going to say her real name. I'm going to call her Priscilla. Hi, Leah, my fellow Staten Islander. We're going to call her Priscilla, just say. Priscilla and I were best friends since we were like 8, right? She had this friend who I did not like whatsoever. I thought he was so gross. And at this point, her and I have been through everything together. We had our first boy crushes together. Like, we used to go to NSYNC concerts together, Backstreet Boys. I would have sleepovers at her house to the point, to the point where, like, some weekends I wouldn't even come home, right? So her and I, we were tight. In a nutshell, we were tight. We were like sisters. She was my best friend. Huge, big part of my life growing up. She was a huge part of my childhood. We went on vacations together. Like, I was her family's second daughter. She was my family's second daughter. You know what I'm saying? It was like that. So, Chamoy got in my hand. And teen. Fuke you too. So yeah, Backstreet Boys were life, yeah. So anyway, let's fast forward. So now, me and my best friend, we're about 16 years old. She's like, Amanda, my friend really likes you. We were at a mutual friend's barbecue. She's like, my friend really likes you. And I thought he was so ugly. I'm like, ew. I don't like Priscilla. I really don't want, like, I think he's gross. Whatever. But for some reason, I always kept bumping into this kid. Thank you, Callie. I always keep bumping into this kid over and over and over. So, I don't know, like, one summer, I guess she gave him my phone number. And he calls my room phone when we had room phones at the time. I had a Nextel, but like, whatever. I had a room phone too. I still lived at home with my parents, right? So he calls me one summer. He's like, listen, and he just got a new car at the time. He's like, listen, I just got a new car. I want to show you my car. Can I stop by your house? I'm like, all right, you could stop by, but I want to go to the mall. I'm on my way to the mall. He's like, I'll take you to the mall. Just, can I stop by? And whatever. So he picks me up. We go to Applebee's in the Staten Island Mall. And I don't know what it was, but like him and I like clicked. So whatever. Needless to say, fast forward a little bit. 16 years old, I have my first boyfriend. And that was him. I dated him up until I was about 20. Rewind a little bit. I'm not the best storyteller, but rewind a little bit. 6 months into our relationship, one morning, wait, are you so cute? Oh, I love you too. So, it was like on an Easter night, the night before Easter, and he was like this big. He was a little older than me, so he was like able to go to Avalon and all the cool clubs, and he had a car and all that stuff. So one night, and he was such a narcissist, and he wasn't the nicest person. He would always tell me to lose weight. You got to lose weight. And at 16 years old, you don't know any better. Like, he just made me feel, I thought that was normal. It was my first relationship. So it was the night before Easter. He's like, get out of the car. My grandmother, because he lived with his grandmother, not his parents. So he's like, my grandmother, we have to go to church in the morning because it's Easter. You got to go. You got to get out. I'm like, okay. And at the time, I was a waitress at Perkins. 16 years old, I worked, and I went to school. So this was like, I don't know. I just thought it was so weird. Excuse me. I'm sorry. So I just thought it was so weird that he was acting like, Atlantic City, what up? My friend's in Atlantic City right now. Yeah, I used to work in Perkins on Forest Avenue. So I thought it was so weird. I'm like, okay, like, so, whatever. I didn't think nothing of it. The next day, can I tell you, my phone blew up. And I think at this point, the Razor phone came out. Remember the Razor flip phones? I had a hot pink one from Verizon. No, was it hot pink or baby pink? Baby pink one from Verizon. I'll never forget. That was like my favorite phone. So I wake up and I have so many missed calls, bro. Missed phone calls from his grandmother, from his friggin' boss, because he worked at Villamonte, from his friends, like, because I guess his grandmother was calling everyone and all his friends were calling me. I'm like, Joan, I thought you guys were going to church in the morning. She's like, no, I can't. I can't go to, I didn't go to church without him. I've been looking for him all morning. At this point, it's already 2 p.m. I'm blowing up, let's just call this guy Bob. I'm blowing up Bob's phone. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Everyone's looking for you. You were supposed to go to church. We thought this kid died. We thought he died. We thought he was dead somewhere in a ditch, okay? We couldn't find him. So now 3 o'clock comes. My shift didn't start till like 4 o'clock at Perkins. I was working the dinner shift that day. So I was like, you know what? Let me call. I got like an inkling because he had this friend that would always like give him up all the time. But only if I asked him. So I call Sal. I call his friend Sal. That's all right, because Sal's not a bad person. He didn't do anything. So I call his friend Sal. I'm like, Sal, where's Bob? He's like, Amanda, I'm going to tell you where he is. He's like, but you can't get mad and you can't say anything. Actually, I've never told anybody this up until my live right now. So he called. Thank you so much. So he called. I'm from Staten Island in the house. All my Staten Island people are in my chat room. I love you guys. Now you could spread word that my accent is not fake, because everybody's always like, oh, I get those comments too. Oh, you're, there's no way you talk like that. Your accent's over exaggerated. No, I actually talk like this. And if I could change it, I probably would, because I'm tired of hearing shit about it. Anyway, let me get back to the story. So Sal gives him up. He slept at a girl's house. Whatever. I'm like, oh, he slept at a girl's house. Really? Okay. I'm like, thanks, Sal. No problem. He's like, Amanda, please don't say anything, whatever. Him and his friend, they went out to Crowbar or whatever with these 2 girls, and they ended up going back to this chick's house, all 4 of them, and the business happened, whatever. I'm like, okay, no problem. Awesome. Good. So I shut my phone. Bacon's mommy, what does cancel mean? Do you need to be blocked from this chat? Because I'll block you. Okay? There you go, my girl. Because you don't know how to act. Confirmed. You've been blocked by the host. Poof, be gone. I don't have time for that bullshit, especially in my chat. Like, this is a safe space where we don't need to be judged. Next caller. Back to the story. So I'm like, okay. And I'm not one to chase a person. Even at that young age, I knew never to chase anybody. I closed my phone. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. He wants to be a cheater. Let him be a cheater. I'm too young for this bullshit. I put my phone in my pocket. I get ready for work. I was going to work with my friends. So I'm like, I'm going to have a good night at work. I'm going to make my money. And I'm going to go chill at my best friend Tiffany's house. Oh, I just said her name. It's fine. I'm going to go, I won't say her name after this, though. I'm going to go to my friend Priscilla's house. Hi, Bev. I love you. So, I work my shift, whatever. All of a sudden, around 5 o'clock hits, this dude starts blowing up my phone. Blowing up my phone. And I clicked and I kept hanging up on him. So then he calls my job, and I told my boss at the time what happened, that he disappeared, slept at another girl's house, whatever. Oh, oh, Bacon. How do I unblock Bacon now? I feel bad. Oops. Well, tell Bacon I'm sorry. There's so many comments. Like, I thought she was saying I'm canceled. My bad. So, um, what was I saying now? I feel like crap. Hello from Washington. I can say hi, Sarah. So anyway, he's calling. So my boss answers the Perkins phone. She's like, hello. She's like this older lady, Joan, mad nice. It's Joni, we called her. So she's like, listen, you gotta stop calling here. If your girlfriend wanted to talk to you, she would answer the phone and talk to you. But you screwed up big time, and now you got a lot of making up to do. I'm rolling, laughing, dying laughing. So I get out of work. Dude's in front of my house, okay? Dude's in front of my house. He comes up with this cockamamie story. And of course, like an idiot, I believe him, right? A lot of things used to happen to his car. Like, he was just like a shisty, like, it wasn't good. He wasn't a good person. And for somebody so young, he was involved in a lot of things. He was involved in a lot of drug dealing things. And I was very naive at the time. Again, he was older than me, and I was only 16, 17 years old dating this kid. And he was a DJ like everybody else on the island. He was a DJ, and he was just involved in a lot of things. Also, at the time, he was sleeping with a lot of other girls. I didn't know it at the time, and he would also sleep with his friends' girlfriends. So, and I didn't know it. Yeah, POV, you're Bob watching. You know what? We made amends. He sees how happy I am, and karma has a way of dealing negative shit. Shit comes around full circle. And right now, Bob is living at Nanny's house, still single, no job. I'm living in a really nice house. I have a man that loves me unconditionally. I have a beautiful son. I have a successful career. My husband is a very hardworking man. He treats me like a princess. So I have no ill feelings toward him. We were both kids, and you live and learn. That's exactly what I told him years down the line. So wait, let me tell you how life comes around full circle. So after all this stuff happened, I forgave him. I fed into his nonsense bullshit story, right? Whatever. Fast forward, 4 years later, him and I are still together, right? And at this point, I'm almost like 20, or I'm almost going to be 21 at this point. And I had just started college, and I took a year, so I didn't start college right away after school. So I just started college. I just figured out that I wanted to be in the medical field, and like I started taking my stuff seriously. So I wasn't always part of that club scene, and like him and I just grew apart, and I was tired of him always putting me down and telling me that I needed to lose weight and all this stuff. Like, him and I just didn't see eye to eye, and like I outgrew who I was when I was with him. Like he didn't appeal to me anymore. So this isn't right, but I like started kind of distancing myself. And then one day my friend started dating one of his friends, and a secret about that night came out. So it's so weird. So I end up going to a barbecue with my best friend, Priscilla, her boyfriend, who is also my ex's really good friend. And coincidentally, a girl, that same girl that he went to Crowbar with and slept at her house, happened to be there. But I didn't know it. And I don't care, I'll say her name. Her name was Erica. And she knew about me. So We're at the barbecue. We're all having a good time. My boyfriend was not there. We're all having a good time. We're all getting drunk, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And these people didn't know who I was dating. So, because my best friend's boyfriend didn't tell them. So, apparently, these people hated the guy that I was with, could not stand him. So, we're all drinking, we're playing flip cup. They're like, oh, hi, Jen. So my best friend's in here. Hi, bitch. So we're all in this room playing flip cop, right? So Jen actually knows one of the people I'm talking about. It's so funny. So we're all in this room playing flip cop, right? So they're like, oh, so and so wants to hook up with you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, no, I can't. I'm not single, whatever. I'm kind of like on a break with this guy. I'm 20 years old, like breaks were a thing then. I'm kind of like on a break with this guy, whatever. And they're like, oh, who's the guy? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's Bob Smith. The whole room got quiet. And the girl, Erica, looks at me and she's like, what? And she's like, you're Bob Smith's girlfriend? She's like, I knew you looked familiar, but I couldn't put my finger to it. Dude, the whole entire barbecue gave him up. And I'm looking at my friend, my best friend, who was supposed to be my best friend at the time, since I'm like 8. Thank you, Jen. So since I'm like 8, I'm looking at her. I'm like, did you know about this? And she's like, Amanda, that would have got involved in my relationship. My boyfriend knew about it, told me about it, and told me never to tell you anything. So it ends up being true. This girl, Erica, told me everything that happened that night. They didn't actually do it, but he was forcing himself on her. And it was so bad that she actually had to press charges. And she ended up moving to Brooklyn. It was this whole thing. So I'm like, great, now I'm dating a rapist, right? Needless to say, okay, I was mortified because I could never look at him the same. You were forcing yourself. Amanda, block these haters. Why? Who's hating? I love your lashes, Julia. Oh, I don't care. I don't give a shit. It's so sad how insecure people are. All right, I blocked one of them. Yeah, she's probably 5, whatever. I am old. What do you want? I have wrinkles, okay? These are lifelines. I live my life, okay? I smile, I wink when I want to. I show excitement. These are living lines, okay? They ain't wrinkles. They're living lines. I'm living life. I'm here drinking. But yeah, so that's my story. I end up cutting off dude. I didn't even tell him that I found out. I just stopped answering his phone calls. And about 2 weeks later, it's almost my birthday, right? At this point, he shows up at my house because I wasn't answering his phone calls for a good 2 weeks, and he thought shit was funny. He's like, "Yo, you're not gonna answer my phones, whatever, blah blah blah, my calls." And at this point, I was working at Chili's, so he shows up at my. I think it was sometime in April, and it was my friend Sabrina's birthday, and she got one of those cheese buses, and we were going to go to Tavern on the Green, right? So he shows up, and the kid that I'm hooking up with, because I replaced him, so I had a guy on the sideline, whatever, kid that I'm hooking up with, where everybody's getting ready at my house, we're in my basement. So we're getting dressed, straightening our hairs, whatever. And my mom comes downstairs. She's like, Amanda, Bob is outside crying hysterically. You need to go talk to him because he's a mess. I'm like, Ma, I'm not going, excuse me, I'm not going outside to talk to him. I'm done. We're done. I have nothing to say. Ma, he tried to rape a girl. I'm good. That's embarrassing. And I'm not staying with somebody like that. He's been cheating on me for a long time. The entire time we were together, I'm done. And the guy that I'm hooking up with too is like looking at me. He's like, do you want me to go outside with you? Like, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'll handle it. So he's like, I'll watch from the window or whatever. So he did. He watched from the window with the screen door open, you know. I walk outside, dude's all like in tears and shit, like crocodile tears. I love you, I'm sorry. So I told him at that point, I was like, listen, I heard about what happened with Erica. I want nothing to do with you. It is what it is. And that's it. Like, I'm done. And I didn't talk to Priscilla. I can't say her real name. I cut Bob off. And he was chasing me for like a good year after that. And we were done. So my best friend Priscilla from my childhood, I didn't talk to her for about, I want to say maybe 5 years. Like, I was very hurt that she knew the entire time the truth. She kept that from me for a long time, and anybody that likes to hide secrets is no friend of mine. So we're good there. So I ended up cutting her off, and then a few years down the line, once I got engaged, does Priscilla's real name start with a T? Yeah, Jen. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about. I don't want to say her name on here. So a few years down the line, whatever, her grandma passes away. And she calls me up. And again, her and I were like family. And life may so I thought so. I wasn't sure. So her and I were like family. So her grandma passes away. And I haven't seen this girl in so long. So I drive to her house. I literally stopped everything I was doing. I drive to her house, and this girl is a disaster. And at this point, like, I realized she developed a problem. She developed a problem, a pill problem, a serious pill problem. And we just didn't like see eye to. We were living two different lives, and her and I, yeah, the tea is boiling. So her and I were just like we were just so different, and we spent so much time apart that we grew separately, I guess. Like, I was into school, and like we were just in two different places, and she was like doing drugs and shit that she shouldn't have been doing. And it's like, don't get me wrong, like I'm no saint, okay, but her and I were living different lifestyles. She was hanging out with bad people, and I wasn't. So like, I'd smoke pot here and there. Like, don't get it, like, I'm not perfect, you know. But she was like on a whole nother level of stuff at that time. So she was like stealing shit out of stores. Like, she bad road. So and it turned out anyway, like a couple of months after her and I started talking again, she was diagnosed with bipolar mania, severe bipolar mania. So her behavior made sense, but I didn't know it at the time. And I felt bad, and I wanted to be there for her. And I always told her, like, you know, I know you have all these issues, but if you ever need me, I'm always here for you, no matter what. And I was always there for her, despite everything that she kept from me. And she lied to me for a long time and made me look stupid in front of everybody. But needless to say, whatever, her and I, we became friends again, right? Until I met Joey. And then I got engaged, and she became distant, and she wasn't happy for me. Hi, Katie. I'm doing a story time. So about a crappy ex-best friend and a shitty ex-boyfriend. Oh, and I'm drinking tahini with, Truly's with tahini around the rim. Cheers, girl. So, needless to say, once I got engaged and Joey and I bought a house, she became very bitter. Best friends can break your heart too, always, yeah. So, needless to say, like, when I got engaged, she basically like started treating me like garbage and said that I wasn't worthy of somebody loving me. How could someone love me when I'm so shady? Or she just started coming up with all these things, and like, she knew my insecurities at that time, like with my weight and stuff. it's like she just used anything against me. Just put it that way. I don't want to list everything here because I don't suffer with those problems anymore, thank God. I mean, my weight sometimes is a little bit of an issue, like, because those thoughts never go away. And I've always looked at myself with like those stupid images in my head, like, oh, you're this, you're that, your body is this. Girls have insecurities, whatever. So she would always use those things against me. I can tell your son is so lucky to have a mom. Thank you. So, whatever. Needless to say, she wasn't happy for me at all. And I saw that. I saw it in her behavior. She always wanted to just talk about her. And she was the type of friend, her problems were always worse than yours. Like, if you went to tell her something, she had to one up your story. Like, oh no, you don't understand. My situation is this and my situation is that. And I would just like, okay, like, yeah, everybody's wrong but you. You're 1,000% right.